Right now, there are a number of CS2 investments that I think have great potential. So in this video, I'm sharing my top picks with a $400 monthly budget and the reasoning behind each one. Let's not waste any time and dive into the big news. The Armory update is finally coming. Last chance to buy messages have been added to Train 2025, Sport and Field, Elemental Craft stickers, and Sugar Phase 2 sticker collections. Let's start with the Elemental Crafts, because I think these have great long-term potential. I've once again collected data on the application rates for all stickers from the collection. You'll find the applications breakdown here, the total applications, current Steam price, and average stickers per skin. Notably, I've highlighted that the High Heat has the highest number of 5x applications, and that the Winding Scorchfall has the highest average applications per skin. Then in this next table, I've got historical data on the number of applications back in November last year, January, March, and now April. We've got the number of applications in the last month between the 20th of March and the 24th of April, and the percentage difference in that time. In this table, I've also got a price ranking column which ranks each sticker from that rarity in descending price order, and the application ranking column. The final column then highlights any discrepancies between the two. So what are the best opportunities right now? This video's sponsor, SkinSwap, is giving you a skin worth up to $50 entirely for free whenever you do your first trade and use my referral code. If you want to refresh your loadout, you can trade your skins for brand new ones in just a couple of seconds. Plus, their market tab now integrates cheap listings from Chinese sites so you can access the best prices without the need for a Chinese ID or bank account. They accept deposits via crypto, MasterCard, and Visa. If you want to cash out, SkinSwap makes that simple too, with instant sell options to PayPal or crypto. On top of that, they run free daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways with the chance to earn extra entries simply by trading. Use the link below for a 3% lifetime sales bonus and a free skin worth up to $50. Big thanks to SkinSwap for supporting the channel. Well, a couple of things stand out to me immediately. First, the most popular stickers from each rarity, such as the Boom Trail Glitter for the purples and High Heat for the blues, are still seeing extremely high demand. They've seen a 20.3 and 23.1% increase in applications over the last month respectively. I'll add a quick caveat here, CS Float was having some database issues over the last few weeks, so it's possible the last round of data collection was impacted by this. That's also why there seems to be some stickers like the Reverse Scorch Loop that have negative applications, for example. Not a big deal, but worth mentioning. Since last month though, there have actually been some stickers that have changed application ranking order. For instance, the Winding Scorch paper has seen significant applications this month, but that's not reflected in the price. It's still sitting at just 18 cents, while the Bolt Charge with nearly identical applications is over double at 38 cents. A little further down, we also see that the Boom Trail paper has had the largest change in applications percentage-wise, but is sitting at just 10 cents. I thought it would be interesting to quickly look back on the Character Craft stickers, the only sticker collection to have been previously discontinued from the Armory, and see how those have done. Here you'll find the Steam prices on the 1st of September, just before its removal announcement, the Steam prices today, and the percentage increase. Interestingly, all of them, without exception, are up, although returns vary greatly. The best performers were the Flex and From the Deep sticker, which are the two most applied paper stickers. Some of the other top contenders have been in the middle of the pack application-wise, but had low starting prices, like the Cloud Nose, Quick Peek, and Glare. Of course, we cannot simply take the performance of that collection and apply it to the new one for several reasons. First, since that was the first collection ever discontinued and was less popular, fewer people had stocked up before the announcement. Further, the Elemental Crafts have now been in the Armory for about 7 months longer. However, if we compare the total applications for both collections, you'll see the Elemental Crafts have more than double, so demand is certainly much higher. Personally, I have my largest holdings in High Heat stickers, as I simply think its overall popularity and sticker craft versatility will keep demand high. It's followed by Bolt Strike papers, as I found the entry point to be fairly cheap relative to its number of applications, then by Boom Trail Glitters, which is the most popular remarkable grade sticker. However, today, based on the pricing discrepancies identified, I'm going to pick up 300 Winding Scorch papers and 500 Boom Trail papers, plus 50 more High Heats for a total of $111. We'll come back to the Armory soon, but I now want to move on to an investment nobody seems to be talking about. However, quickly, I want to mention that this video is not professional financial advice. CS2 skins are virtual items and can be highly volatile. Past performance is not indicative of future results, so please do your own further research and consider your financial position before making any decisions. We recently heard the news that Fallen, one of the most legendary Counter-Strike pros, will be retiring at the end of the year, and that announcement already had a big impact on prices of his player autograph. If you look at his Austin paper autograph, for example, I'll let you guess when the speech was. So obviously, it's still very recent news, and in fact, he'll still be playing the rest of the year, likely in both the Cologne and Singapore majors, which will bring new autograph stickers. prices. So I wouldn't actually recommend buying in just yet, but I wanted to mention it, especially if you follow the competitive side of things closely. If you think a player is going to retire in the coming months, it might be worth stocking up on a couple of their autographs. If you want to get in on the fall in action, I'd be waiting closer to the end of the year, but then supply should be discontinued forever if he steps back from playing competitively. If you think, for instance, a player like Carrigan is nearing the end of his career with this final Falcon stint, then maybe that's also an opportunity to consider later in the year. Moving on, I want to speak about the Gamma case. If you've watched or listened to my recent Skin Economy episodes, which is my new weekly talk show regarding everything CS2 skins, you will have already seen that the Gamma 1 and 2 cases are actually some of the worst performers since the start of the year, down 15.5 and 10% respectively. In fact, percentage-wise, they are only outdone by the Riptide and OG Glove cases, which honestly seems pretty odd to me. I think the most logical comparison to make for the Gamma cases are the Chromas, given they share the same knife set, including the Bayonet, M9 and Karambit, and there's the potential to get the Emerald instead of the Ruby or Sapphire. The Chroma cases are all up this year, 10% for the Chroma 3, 18% for the Chroma 2, and 35% for the Chroma 1. If we look at their release dates, they're actually very similar, all coming out between late 2015 and late 2016. On a side note, can we just acknowledge how crazy it is that a decade ago, we were seeing 5 cases released per year, and now we're lucky to have 1 or 2, or none, in the case of only a terminal this year. Anyways, I mention it because due to that, supply is likely quite similar for those cases. And indeed, if we look at CS2 data and sort by estimated total unboxings, we'll find the Gamma case right alongside the Chroma 3 and the Gamma 2 case right next to the Chroma 2, which makes sense to me. So perhaps it's the skins inside? Well, I use CSROI to look at the average unbox value based on CS float prices on the 24th of April. And here are the results. The ROI column just divides the average unbox by the case price and $2.49 key to offer the statistical average return if you open infinitely many cases today. I don't know about you, but they all look pretty comparable to me. Sure, the Gamma 2 is a few percentage points lower, but then the Gamma 1 is pretty much equal first place. So while there are many other cases like the Prismas for instance, or the OG weapon cases that have already seen a ton of price growth recently, I prefer to buy into the dip. Therefore, given I believe in the solid fundamentals of the Gamma case, with its S-tier knives and Gamma Doppler finishes, I'll be adding 25 to this month's portfolio at the price of $3.20, which was the cheapest listing I could find on SkinSwap at the time. Now, if you're unsure about how cases will perform in the long term, I highly suggest you take a look at this video, where I recently discussed the state of both the EU regulations and New York court case Valve is dealing with. Nevertheless, I think an alternative solid play right now is actually buying directly into the case skins themselves, which can see price growth over time thanks to their consumption in trade-ups from both the Chroma and Gamma Doppler knives. I see 2 approaches to this. First, you simply look for the cheapest possible entry point in any of these collections. It's likely to be a battle scarred or field-tested mil-spec. This isn't a big deal as the Doppler and Gamma Doppler knives, the main driver of trade-ups for these collections, are float capped, so even field-tested inputs, for example, can result in factory new knives. As an alternative, you can target factory new skins, and ideally those with the full 0 to 1 float range. Since the change to the trade-up formula, these have become most desirable, especially for anyone trying to trade up to other skins in the collection and not just the knives. For example, in the Gamma case, the Mac 10 Carnival and PP Bison Harvester are the only mil specs with the full float range, and the R8 Revolver Reboot is the only restricted. On the other hand, for the Gamma 2 collection, for instance, there's quite a few options actually, and I find the most visually pleasing way to do this is to visit the collection page on Skin Search, which displays the float ranges in this colourful bar under each skin. I personally believe the factory new variants will perform best, so today I'll be picking up a few factory new skins from each collection, and it will be interesting to see how each performs. I will mention though, stay away from StatTrack skins, as those see far less demand and are not popular for gold trade-ups. Right now, the CZ Red Asta is the cheapest restricted skin amongst the Chroma 1, 2, and 3 collections that has the full 0 to 1 float range, so I'll add 2 of those to the portfolio at $16.29. Same scenario for the Scar 20 Power Core for the Gamma 1 and 2 collections, currently selling for $9.52 on SkinSwap. Now let's return to the Armory, with what I think could be the best CS2 investment right now, the Train 2025 collection. I made a detailed video on this collection about a month ago, but I'll recap a few of the main reasons I think there's potential here. The collection has only been in the Armory since March 31st last year, so about 13 months now. This is slightly longer than the graphic design collection, but actually if we compare supply of specific skins like the Coverts, the AWP CMYK currently has 4,200 in factory new versus just 2,300 for the AWP Long Dog. Of course, this number will likely increase a bit in the weeks to come as people get their last minute redemptions in and attempt trade-ups, but that's a significant difference at roughly half. Plus, Train only has 2 souvenir packages from the Austin and Budapest majors. Not that souvenir skin supply has a large impact overall, given so few actually opened relative to Armory redemptions. Now what's interesting for the Train 2025 collection is that all the classified and covert skins have the full 0 to 1 float range, and the Tech 9 has the extremely difficult 0.06 to 1 float range, making trade-ups quite hard for these high rarity skins. That's good news if we're buying into those, because new supply from trade-ups should be fairly low over time. If we look at the float caps from the classified and coverts in the graphic design, for example, they had smaller float ranges, from roughly 0 to 0.75, making them relatively easier to trade up to in good conditions. I think comparing these two collections is most relevant given they are the two least popular Armory collections overall and have had the most similar lifespan in the Armory. If you look at these tables I've also put together, with prices at various stages for each of the two collections, float caps, and then factory new and field tested supply for each skin, I think it's quite clear to see that supply of the Train collection is significantly lower at every rarity. For instance, there are a total of 36,098 factory new restricted skins for Train compared to over 95,000 for graphic design, but current prices do not reflect that. If you've made it this far, I've got something for you. I'm giving away a factory new survival knife tiger tooth to one of you this month. To enter, just like the video and leave a comment including the word tiger. I'll be picking the winner on April 30th. Good luck. For these reasons, I decided to go straight for 10 factory new and 4 hellish for my personal portfolio. Interesting pickup though, as I was going to buy them on CS Float, the cheapest listing was sitting around $410, and then quickly jumped to around $435. However, when I went onto SkinSwap, I found a number sitting around the $360 mark, saving me roughly $50 to $60 per M4. That's because SkinSwap has access to the high liquidity of the Chinese market, and we can take advantage of it. Even if you didn't want to buy any new skins, you could just take a look to see if there's a decent gap in prices for any of your current holdings, sell them on CS Float, and rebuy immediately on SkinSwap to pocket the difference. I believe the best performance in this collection will be low float skins that can trade up to factory new skins of the next rarity. Low float blues that can get to the factory new whiteout I think will do particularly well. These are the floats you need for each of the mil specs in order to potentially get a factory new whiteout, and currently the cheapest listings I could find were these famous 2A2Fs for just under $25, so I'll buy 3 for now. And then for the sake of diversification, we'll also buy 2 Zeus charged up, the only restricted with the full 0 to 1 float range, currently at $39.95. If you're concerned that the collections getting rotated out haven't seen big spikes yet, like the graphic design did for example, keep in mind that there are multiple skin collections moving this time, so capital will be split amongst them, in addition to the sticker collections. Furthermore, supply of the Sport and Field in particular is significantly higher, so it will take longer for prices to move as simply far more skins need to be purchased. You'll notice I haven't spoken much about Sport and Field today, and that's because I'm personally not going to be buying into it anymore. I've already stocked up with a couple thousand industrials when I was able to pick them up for between 4 and 6 cents, and will also hold on to my Crimson Foils and M4 Fades for the long run. I think we'll see some movement over the next 6 months, and then I might consider starting to offload them. However, since prices haven't yet moved too much for Train either, but supply is so much tighter, I simply think there's more potential there. Let me know your thoughts on this month's picks in the comments below, and check out this video next. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.